We have discussed the impact of this approach on the EMP token holder community. Let's now discuss what this means to the developer. How will we go about calculating, for instance, the amount of EMP token they need to purchase as part of the underwriting function? Now, as previously indicated, we've used a baseline, an approximate baseline of one EMP token represents $100 of house. That's our core metric. From the perspective of the developer, what does that mean and how is it calculated? What represents a house? Particularly if you are building a home that is yet to have a market value. So for instance, I'm going to turn and glance at my laptop here because each home that is to be a part of a project has to be valued in terms of what that home will contain and how many EMP will be associated with it. This is particularly because we're in the development space and not in the aftermarket or resale space. So the Empowa professional will work with the developer to define every unit that is going to be developed, what the EMP token allocations would be. What factors would be included in this? Factors such as number of bedrooms, if there's a pool, the number of bathrooms. Each one of these serves to raise the token allocation associated with that particular unit above the baseline. Then, once we have collected all of this information for a particular project, we also have to make an assessment of what the purchasing power of $100 is within a particular country. That index base of 1 to 100 is basically done according to a basket of 14 highly indebted poor countries as defined by the OECD or an index from the World Bank. I don't recall. I actually think it's defined from an index from the World Bank. But we know that some countries have higher incomes than this basket of 14 countries, and other countries have lower incomes. So that $100 has the ability to purchase more or less, depending on which country you're in. The concept behind this actually came from the Economist Big Mac Index, where at the back of the Economist, every so often, they publish what the cost of a Big Mac is in various countries. It's still a Big Mac, but it has a different fiat value. In that same way, the EMP token to $100 is still $100, but what a house means in one country is going to be slightly different from what a house means in another country, and the purchasing power of that $100 will differ in different countries. The basket of 14 highly indebted poor countries is our index standard. But if we go to another country, for instance, Mozambique, where we're active, their economies are generally weaker than that basket of 14 highly indebted poor countries. So we index the value down for whatever the collateral requirements are accordingly. Conversely, if we go to a country like Nigeria, their economy is stronger than the basket of 14 highly indebted poor countries. So we ratchet or index the collateral requirements up in order to be fair, in order to represent the true purchasing power parity. The system that we've created and that system of indexing actually works even for countries like high income countries like Liechtenstein or Monaco, where the index obviously is boosted considerably, or the EMP token used to collateralize a property in that country. Now, there's another aspect to the index that we needed to include, and that is something called the Gini index of income inequality. We need to make sure that we are factoring in the fact that you can be in a poor country and very wealthy, or is everybody in the poor country generally at the same level? So obviously, all the information and approaches used to generate these indices will be made available. The Gini index figures and the OECD and World Bank figures we take from public sources because we believe it is best to generate such indices on national income inequality and national income from public sources. We don't generate those ourselves, but we definitely have to take those into consideration when determining collateral requirements. So when we talk about the actual collateral requirement, that is a process from the developer. The developer then can have time to purchase the EMP tokens required to fulfill the underwriting requirement, or in many instances, it can be competitively priced or negotiated so that they have the basket of EMP token, which is held in their name, but it is in effect held in escrow until such time that the loan has been successfully discharged. After which time, based on negotiation, the EMP token either reverts to the developer, or if the Empowa professionals have negotiated a different agreement, the EMP token can be distributed in a different way. But ultimately, there is a flow in which whenever the loan instrument is subject to default conditions, and the developer has been notified that the loan is subject to default, there is a process whereby steps will be taken to move those locked EMP tokens out of escrow, and at the time that it is deemed that the loan is irrecoverable, well, this is where the fundamental advantage of the Empowa platform exists. Using modern Web3 technology, we're able to execute a deal in order to liquidate those tokens and make the investors whole or partially whole much faster than if they had to go to court in country and try to put a for sale sign on a property in the middle of Sudan and hope they get their money back quickly. This is the fundamental difference between our platform, and we solve a critical problem by allowing the developers an opportunity to obtain and secure their collateral, and their collateral has the opportunity for capital appreciation, but it's also very, very liquid because, as many of us know, Web3 and crypto tokens can be liquidated on multiple markets in the Web3 space. So that is effectively the Empowa, the EMP collateral developer model, and we look forward to exploring that further. It's actually quite flexible. It doesn't require, it gives room for professionals to negotiate according to the country, and we accommodate national differences in economy. And I think those are critical elements to include, particularly when discussing collateral, repayments, and the risk of default.